Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fishburne Military School's Fall Parents Weekend. For those of you who have first-year cadets, this is likely the longest you've ever been apart from them. So to say today holds special meaning would be an understatement. You will undoubtedly notice that your sons and grandsons today are standing taller and they are walking prouder. He has just achieved a significant accomplishment. He has earned the right to become a Fishburne old man. He has looked forward to seeing you, but frankly, he has sought to reach this milestone probably a little bit more since he arrived in August. He has therefore accomplished his first objective in what will ultimately lead to his graduation from this fine school. Do not be surprised when you observe that he is speaking more clearly and acting more mature. That is what we are striving to foster here at Fishburne. It is a continual and gradual process, but you will witness it over time as we attempt to hone your loved one into the educated man that you desired him to be. Fishburne is a team. The faculty and the staff are devoted to educate and develop your precious loved one. We attempt to cultivate knowledge coupled with morality and practical application. All hands strive to instill a greater sense of awareness, attention to detail, and adherence to self-discipline. Every staff member is assiduous in creating a physical setting conducive to your loved one's advancement. Finally, we are committed to our cadets and your son's success. Life at Fishburne is not easy, and we do not apologize for that. Anything worth having is worth working for. This school is challenging, and it requires a special individual to complete it. Each of you have likely stated your loved one here in uniform is special. Well, today, his presence on this field provides ample evidence to unequivocally justify your claim. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend and with your son or loved one, and God bless you and Fishburne Military School. It is now my pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker. She is a gifted thinker, orator, and writer. Her concentration has been on promoting liberty and illustrating the precious nature of the freedoms that we enjoy as Americans. As a former vice president of Young America, she articulated these principles on countless college campuses and advocated their validity via multiple media outlets. She became the first female chair of the Virginia Republican Party. She has served as the vice chairman of the Virginia State Council of Higher Education and is a current member of the board of the Lucy Policy Institute. Now, while all of these significant accomplishments are impressive, none of them are why we asked her to speak here today. She is also a wife and, more importantly, the mother of 6 children. And it is that role that is pertinent to all of us here today, because she afforded us here at Fishburne the privilege to educate one of her most precious commodities, and that is her son, Phillip Griffin, our current battalion commander. So without further ado, it is my high honor to welcome Miss Kate Obenshain Keeler to convey her observations and the sentiment of her feelings as a Fishburne mother, something that many of you in the audience today are experiencing for the first time. Ms. Obenshain Keeler, thank you for joining us.
Well, I cannot begin to tell you how honored I am to be standing here. I never thought it would happen. I have given quite a few speeches in my life, and none has meant as much to me as this one. Seeing these young men marching in formation, the looks on their faces, the parents know what it means to us. It fills us with pride, unspeakable pride. I've been thinking a lot lately about why. Why are we proud? Well, for one thing, I'm in awe that these young men are learning that this life is about something bigger than themselves. Our journey to Fishburne was a very rocky one, probably not unlike a lot of the journeys you all have traveled. And while here, the path has not been straight. Now, let me assure you, I've received permission from my son to share with you pretty much whatever I want, and that in and of itself makes me proud. Though he's Griffin to you all, I'm calling him Philip here. While Philip has always had some fascination with the military, he made very clear he didn't have any intention of going to a military school. But when he became a freshman in high school, he began to fall apart. An insecure and frankly tiny freshman, he made it his mission to be cool. He started hanging out with a rough crowd, doing the things rough crowds do. He decided doing well in school was no longer hip, so his grades began to tank, all of them. But what was most striking and disturbing was the belligerent, hostile behavior he began showing towards me. I was a single mom, raising Philip and his siblings largely solo. I realized very quickly this turn of character was something I was woefully unprepared and ill-equipped to handle. My son was at a place of outright rebellion to everything I had tried to instill in him. And I was at a place of deep despair for the prospects of him ever choosing a different path. I was at the point where I began to look for possible solutions. One stood out to me, a small, all-male military school nestled in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, Fishburne Military School. I'd heard of it, but knew nothing about it. I found it had a reputation for focusing on the individual, instilling discipline, and teaching boys how to become men. Bingo. I was willing to try anything. So we arrived at summer school at the end of Philip's freshman year. Here's how our first moments at Fishburne went. A certain very large, very loud staff sergeant greeted us. I happened to be carrying a box up to Philip's room. Staff sergeant, why is your mother carrying this box? Philip, she picked it up. Staff sergeant, do you think your mother should be carrying boxes to your room? Philip gave me a very quick but very nasty, mean look, one I'd become quite familiar with, as if somehow I was responsible for the current situation. Staff sergeant, did you just give your mother a look? Me thinking, not saying, but thinking, yes, he did. Philip, however, no. Just like that, no. Staff sergeant, no? Did you just say no to me? Philip, catching on, no, sir. Staff sergeant, at this point, breaking bad. Oh, yes, you did. I saw you clear as day. You cut your eyes at her. This is your mother. You are to respect her. She is sacrificing you so you can come here. You think this is easy for her? It is not. You show your mother honor. Do you understand me? Of course, at that point, all the mothering issues, and all of you mothers know what I'm talking about, all of the mothering issues that brought us to this point kicked in. Oh, my poor baby. Oh, my boy. He's yelling at him. His poor feelings. Okay, but then a much louder, much wiser voice was in my head. Heck yeah, he did give me that look. He's been giving me looks and showing me flagrant disrespect for about 7 months now. And finally, someone sees what the problem is. And I'm not having to say a word. I thought I had died and gone to heaven. At that moment, and yes, it was a hard moment for both of us, but I knew I'd made the right decision. I was in no position to teach this kid how to become a man, but this place was. Now, there was no miraculous transformation in my son during his rat summer at Fishburne. No, it was a longer, bumpier journey than that. I'm just going to tell you one story. During his sophomore year, he had a very close call with being, shall we say, shown the front door, still being quite sassy and full of himself. Now, a foreign language teacher, whom my child had already been disruptive in his class, told his students that they could call him any name they wanted as long as it was in Spanish. So my kid, of course, took him literally and came up with the foulest description in the Spanish language, and yes, called his Spanish teacher that name. Yeah, it was not funny at the time at all. I prepared myself for him to get kicked out. I knew we were close. This was bad. Philip got a DRB, a disciplinary review board. I don't need to tell you all about that, where he received the strongest of reprimands from an, at times, downright terrifying commandant and 30 penalty tours. Something about that DRB changed Philip. All of a sudden, it was as though he got it. He was embarrassed. I was told he set a record for how quickly he walked off those penalty tours. And he was determined to show that he was not an arrogant, rude, entitled kid. And he was determined to demonstrate that after 2 years of mediocre academic performance, he was a bright student, willing to work hard and get good grades. It was then that we all witnessed a transformation that has been nothing short of miraculous. Philip dug deep inside himself to find the characteristics that would help him succeed. But he didn't do it alone. Once his behavior turned around, it was quickly recognized at Fishburne. That is one of the blessings of a small school. Whether our boys are slipping or succeeding, the staff at Fishburne is on it. Philip was given the responsibility of being a Med NCO. That was huge, as was the support and encouragement of Mama B. His grades turned around completely thanks to the individualized instruction and the personal interest the teachers take in each of their students. Philip began to develop leadership skills and to take on responsibilities. Those efforts were recognized, not necessarily immediately, but in due time when he had truly proven himself. But most importantly, he committed himself to Fishburne, to his fellow cadets, and to the school itself, to making it an even better place. I don't really know what brought about his decision to change, but I do know when these boys choose a better path, it is, in part, a result of us parents getting out of the way, allowing our sons to experience pain and difficulties and challenges on their own. Trust me, it goes against every one of my mothering instincts to protect and nurture. But I will never forget the first speech I heard at Fishburne, sitting on one of those walls right there at the end of summer school. The superintendent at the time, Gary Morrison, uttered these words multiple times. Ease breeds weakness. Difficulty breeds strength. I'm telling you, those words hit home for me. They gave me courage to see this through as a mother. With those words, I saw clear as day our challenge. We're bringing up our kids in an era that tries to make everything easy for them. Don't let anyone hurt their feelings, protect them from their teachers, and let everybody get a medal. We're keeping our boys from becoming men. We're protecting them from the very challenges, yes, the very pain that will help them develop the character they need, not only to live noble lives, but to impact the lives of others. We are keeping them from becoming leaders. If our boys are to become men of honor, men of valor, men who look outside their own needs to see how they can help others, how to make their families, their communities, and their country a better place, a little or even a lot of difficulty is only going to make them stronger. Fishburne Military School has taught me that as a parent, and so much more. You gentlemen out there may think you're the only ones being molded, being tested, growing, and maturing. But trust me, your parents are being tested and molded as well. As you are absolutely helping us in our growth. Watching you dig deep, learn how to respect authority, learning how to become authority, as you learn to dedicate yourself to your own improvement and the improvement of your fellow cadets, that is inspiring to us. That is transformational to us. As you walk in formation, we see your character growing. You are learning to set your own needs and wants aside to be part of something bigger. So few of your peers are able or willing to do that. You are light years ahead of them. As we bemoan, rightly so, the state of our civility and discourse in our nation, as we witness cowardly, anonymous, and frankly dehumanizing behavior on social media and atrocities in our community at the hands of lunatics, we see in you all a hope for a brighter future. Because if some of our young people are willing to choose a different path, a nobler, more courageous path of putting others before themselves, of attaining service, of attaining knowledge and wisdom, of genuine sacrificial leadership, then it's our hope and prayer that others will learn from you, be inspired by you, and follow your example. Our family has been and learned, been inspired and changed because of Philip's example, because of his determination. His transformation has demonstrated that our stories are by no means set in stone when we are 14 or 15-year-olds. We can make a decision at any point in our lives to choose a different path, one of honor, accomplishment, determination, charity, kindness, and leadership. I am proud of my son, not because of the honors he's received. I'm proud of who he has become, because of the time, courtesy, and respect he shows even to his little sister, or especially to his little sister and his mother, because he talks about his fellow cadets with concern, compassion, and sometimes frustration, recognizing each of your potential. Maybe he's had this inside him all along, but it is in large part thanks to Fishburne that he's found the courage to live it. I urge you, my fellow parents, stay the course. Focus on character development. Yes, love these boys, but in loving them, focus on the magnificent men they can become. We need them, I think now more than ever. I urge you men, you very impressive young men, stay the course. Choose the better way. This place can change you if you will let it. And to the faculty and staff of Fishburne Military School, particularly to the Commandant, Mrs. Susan Johnson, to Mama B and her incredible team, to the superintendent, to the TAC officers, to the teachers who are sacrificially committed to our boys, on behalf of the parents, families, and friends of these young men, I want to thank you for all you do, not just to transform our boys, but to give us all a hope for a brighter future that these leaders of tomorrow give us. Thank you so much, and God bless these boys, this school, and this nation. Thank you.